Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tukenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. This week our parashah is Nitzavim, which is Hebrew for one's standing, as for morally standing upright and righteous. Now, this is our 8th parashah out of the book of Devarim, as Yahweh is showing them that as they are standing here today, that Yahweh kept us alive through all things thus far as a chosen people to Him. Now, as this portion opens with Moshe placing the Torah before the children of Israel as they are commanded to obey it. As we open in this Torah portion, we are given very strong and everlasting words to always keep in our hearts, and on our minds, in our thoughts, and in our actions. With the words being directed to us all here today, to therefore keep the words of this covenant and do them, that you may prosper in all that you do. Now, following in verse 13, that He, the Abba, Yahweh, may establish you as His people, and that He may be your Yahweh, as He promised to you through your forefathers. Also, I ask you, how is it that we know that Yahweh was speaking to us here today as well? Because if we look at verse 14 through 15, it states that it is not with you alone that I am making this sworn covenant, but with whoever is standing here with us today before our Yahweh, which we know were the children of Israel into the promised land. But next, continuing on, it states and says, and with whoever is not here with us today. And who would that have been that was not there yet today at that time? Exactly, us and the children of Israel's children's descendants who were yet to have been born. It is for, in the examples such as this, that as many Christians who do not understand and are deceived into believing that the law was abolished along with the Tanakh and Old Testament, and that they must not abandon the teachings of it, because Yahweh was not only speaking to those of the days of old, but to us all here in this present age today. See, they only know half of the truth by only following the New Testament. And now, if you are deceived and only know half of the truth, you can easily spread non-fruit-bearing truths and become a part of the very thing that is turning others away from truly knowing the loving Abba Yahweh. Now, as verse 18 starts to show us this picture as well, as it states, beware, lest there be among you a man or a woman or clan or tribe whose heart is turning away from the Adonai or Yahweh to go and to serve the gods of the nation. And as I know that for many years as a Christian, before finding the true Messianic and Hebraic way, that I too was a victim of this, and of following an idol, of hearing a false gospel, to worship pagan days such as Christmas and Easter, and to truly abandon Yahweh's true gospel in His holy days, and instead celebrate men's holidays. And to continue to have my ears tickled by listening to sermons, to have my ears tickled instead of seeking to find the truth for myself. Because now, due to remember that following a false message or religion can be a god or an idol if you let it. Now, as for more proof of this, in verse 18, it states, "Beware lest there be among you a root bearing poisonous and bitter fruit, one who when he hears the words of this sworn covenant blesses himself in his heart, saying, I shall be safe, though I walk in the stubbornness of my heart," such as a Christian who states that they can put away the law and eat unclean foods and not celebrate Yahweh's holy days, or that they could be and continue to buy and sell on the Shabbat, or last but not least, that the law died on the cross with, as they call the Messiah Jesus, but with him as Yeshua. But how does Yahweh respond to those who think otherwise now? Or that this is an okay thing to do? Well, we can see that starting in verse 20, we can read Yahweh's response to all who think this and act this way in defiance to him. It states, Adonai will not be willing to forgive him. Why? Because Yahweh has given us all many chances to seek the truth for ourselves and to not be misled by having others tell us what is what and what to do. Next, Yahweh states, "But rather the anger of Adonai and his jealousy will smoke against that man, and the curses written of in the book, this book will settle upon him, and Adonai will blot out his name from under Shemayim, heaven." Now, I don't know the worst thing ever than to have your name blotted out of his true book. Now, Yahweh rewards those who choose life and to keep and honor his covenant by bringing you into the land that he promised, and he will circumcise our hearts and those of our offspring so that we will love Adonai our Yahweh with all of our heart and with all of our soul, neshama, so that we may live everlasting. And Yahweh will put all of the curses on our persecutors instead, such as the books of Matthew and the books of Revelation foretells, with all the evils of the world and our persecutors being thrown into the lake of fire to cease to exist, because their names were not written in the book of life, inscribed into it, because they did not inscribe Yahweh into their hearts. So you see, we don't have to look too or very far to find these words given to us by Yahweh and Yeshua, our Messiah, as Yahweh tells us, "But the word is very near us. It is in our mouth and in our hearts, so that we can" what? Yes, can do it. Choose between life and death. Today I offer you life and prosperity, or death and destruction. This is what I am commanding you today. Love Yahweh, your Elohim. Follow his directions and obey his commands, his laws and his rules. Then you will live. Your population will increase. And Yahweh, your Elohim, will bless you in the land that you are about to enter and take possession of. But your hearts might turn away, and you might not listen. You might be tempted to bow down to other gods and worship them. Now, if you do, I tell you today that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live for a long time in the land that you are going to take possession of when you cross the Jordan River. I will call on Shemayim and earth as witnesses today that I have offered you life or death, blessings or curses. Choose life that you and your descendants will live. Love Yahweh your Elohim. Obey him and be loyal to him. This will be your way of life, and it will mean a long life for you in the land that Yahweh swore to give to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. So what will you choose today? Will you choose life or will you choose death? This is the hardest but most easiest choice for us all. So I ask you again, what is it that you will choose? Now as for our half-Torah portion, I ask you today, do you wear the jewels of the world or do you wear the jewels of Yahweh? I know that many are probably wondering what I am talking about, but surely you will know in a short matter of time. And I want you to take it with you and to remember it for all of your days and to share its meaning. You see, the jewels of the world are physical things that others can see, but most importantly, that anyone, rather a murderer or a sinner or a rapist or a thief, or a just and a faithful righteous man or woman can achieve. In other words, it is only precious to man, and anyone can acquire it or them, such as gold or diamonds. Matter of fact, some will lie for them or even steal for them, but last of all, kill for them. But now the jewels of Yahweh, it is the complete opposite, you see. The jewels of Yahweh can be physical or unseen to man as spiritual, but seen by Yahweh and Yeshua and all of their heavenly hosts. But most importantly, not just anyone can acquire them, but rather those who are righteous, upright, faithful, loyal, and obedient, and just and fair and loving. In other words, who are precious to Yahweh. And our bridegroom Yeshua, wherein for it really counts. They are for those who will greatly rejoice in Adonai, whose soul shall exalt in Yahweh, for he clothed you in garments of salvation, which is Yeshua. You are covered and protected by him and all his host, and he will cover you with a robe of righteousness as a bridegroom decks himself like a priest with a beautiful headdress, as a wife adorns herself with her jewels. For as the earth brings forth its sprouts, and as a garden causes what is sown in it to sprout out and up, so Yeshua and Yahweh will cause righteousness and praise to sprout up before all the nations through all whom have acquired the jewels of Yahweh. But if you have acquired the jewels of Yahweh, you have a big responsibility to be a watchman all the days and all the nights, and you shall never be quiet. You who put Adonai in remembrance, take no rest, and give him no rest until he establishes Jerusalem and makes it a praise in the earth. So I ask you today, will you acquire the jewels of the earth, which pass away, or will you strive to acquire the jewels of Yahweh, which are eternal, Leolam? Now, as in our gospel portion, as Yeshua is still alive, the messengers now of Yeshua are Adonai, our Messiah, stated to the Isha, woman, why do you seek the living among the dead? Which is the expression and proof that Yeshua and his gospel is a truly living thing in person today, as he and his Father's words are Leolam, everlasting. So if you seek life, you must follow every word of Yeshua and his Abba, and believe in Yeshua and that he is our Messiah who died and rose again. Now Yeshua rose on the third day, which is major as we look back at Bereshit, Genesis, and we clearly see that on the third day, Yahweh created the land and plants, which are all living things with life. And Yeshua was risen on the third day with life as well. Now also note that 3 is the number for divine perfection. And we all know that Yeshua was perfect in all of his ways. Also, Yahweh's name is mentioned 3 times in the Shema. And it is mentioned 3 times in the Aaronic blessing. And note that Jonah had also spent 3 days in the belly of the fish. And life continued on post-flood from Noah's 3 sons. So I ask you today, will you seek life of the world, or will you seek everlasting life in Yeshua? Just as Yeshua had risen, so too shall his words be risen and magnified. Will you choose to spread the true gospel of Yeshua and magnify and raise his gospel to all of the nations? And now we will have the Aaronic blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. This has been a weekly Messianic Torah portion from Following Yeshua Ministries. For more information or for help, please visit www.followyeshuanow.com. We all here from Following Yeshua Ministries are wishing you a beautiful and a blessed New Year. A beautiful and a blessed Rosh Hashanah. Shabbat Shalom.